Good afternoon, you're watching The Football Show on PLZ Soccer. I'm Gabriel Antoniazzi. Joining me, Tam McManus in his lovely Scotland shirt and Alan Ruff. That's because Scotland have the chance to qualify for the World Cup playoffs this afternoon. Kickoff against Moldova is just 1 hour away. We've got the team news. Stuart Armstrong and John McGinn will support Shay Adams in attack. You've got Liam Cooper coming in at centre-half. Nathan Patterson keeping his place at right wing-back. We'll be talking about that much more in depth in about 10 minutes' time. We've got to start with the news that Giovanni van Bronckhorst, the former Rangers player, is the current favourite and the number one target at the club to replace Steven Gerrard. Gerrard, of course, signing to become the new Aston Villa boss yesterday. But Van Bronckhorst headlines a 3-person shortlist. He played for the club for 3 seasons. He's out of work and is very keen for the role. Tam, it just seems like the right fit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does at the minute. I think he had a great spell at Feyenoord. I think he wants to play similar way to Rangers play, 4-3-3 attacking. And it's important that a manager comes in at Rangers and he doesn't, rip it up and start again. I think they play good football. They've got a style of playing through Gerrard the last 3 years. You don't want to maybe go away from that. So I think Van Bronckhorst would be a great appointment. I think the supporters like him. I was fortunate enough to play against Van Bronckhorst when he was at Rangers, and he was a fantastic player as well. So I think he ticks a lot of boxes, but it'll all depend on when Ross Wilson and the board at Rangers sit down with him, as I'm sure they will. Whether they're the right fit for each other. You can get more of a feel for it, but I think he's a hot favourite at the minute. Yeah, they're expecting interviews to take place over the weekend. Ruffy, as Tam said, he's very popular with the Rangers fans. He seems to be almost a fan's choice at the moment, doesn't he?
I think that's a big thing. I think that's an important thing. It needs to be somebody that the fans buy into. You don't want to bring a manager in and the fans are all going, "Oh, we don't want him," or there's rumours going about here. He like McGuinness had it the first time but never took it. You don't want any of that kind of stuff going round. You just want the guy who smoothly comes in. Fortunate enough, there's no games this weekend, so they've got nearly a fortnight to sort of deal with it. But he seems to be the front runner now.
Mm-hmm. Interesting you say about not ripping it up. He is actually quite similar to Gerrard. If you look at their records, we can have a quick look at his stats now. He's only managed 6 more games than Gerrard at 199 games, age 46, in his 40s as well. Of course, a former world-class player, played for massive clubs at Rangers, Arsenal, of course the biggest club in the world, and Barcelona. And his win percentage, 57%. At Feyenoord, he won their first league in 18 years. He plays the 4-3-3 system. He went to China, didn't really work for him. They finished 11th out of 16th, but it was tough. It was in COVID. He was away from his family, so came back home. But that is key, isn't it? Continuity. Yeah, definitely. As I said, he's very similar, I think, in style to Steven Gerrard. So I think that for Rangers, it ticks a lot of boxes. But as I said, it'll all depend on where they sit down with each other and see, what their ambitions are. As you said, he went to China, it didn't quite work out. I think he's probably went to China for money, to be honest. I think most managers and players do. Yeah. So he's came back. He's out of contract, which I think is huge. There's no compensation to pay for him. So no, I think a lot of Rangers fans will be excited about Van Bronckhorst. Mm-hmm. You were talking about it yesterday, but how important is the respect factor? Because that's what Gerrard had, even with no experience. He was a world-class player, and that's what Van Bronckhorst is, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got it all. He's obviously got the history with Rangers, very respected in that era with the players and the supporters. He's done it at international level. He's played with top clubs, and he's been around top clubs, so he'll have had an abundance of knowledge coming in there, and it just, as Tam said, it just, when you get round the table with the board and the board start asking you questions, the board need to give him the right answers as well, because he's not going to come. He's going to be ambitious. He's going to be the same as Steven Gerrard. He's going to want to know what's on the table, finances. Am I going to lose any players in January? All these kind of things. But for him, as it stands just now, Rangers are too big a club for him to turn that down.
Yeah, I think so as well. We want to hear from you though, Rangers fans of Scottish football in general. What do you think about Van Bronckhorst? Could he be the right man for Rangers right now? Can he lead them to the title? Now, one difficult thing for him is, of course, he's going to be coming in mid-season. He's got no time to build his own tactics. We think that his backroom staff could consist of Jean-Paul van Gastel, who he had at Feyenoord, and also Jan Wouters. You remember he used to be assistant for Dick Advocaat. I think he stayed with McLeish as well. Now, how important is it that he has people? Obviously, he does know the club, but people around him. And would you bring anyone else in that might know the game in Scotland?
Possibly. Jan Wouters was about Rangers when I was there under Advocaat and Alec McLeish. He knows Rangers inside out. You know, guys like Neil McCann have been mentioned. You know, Neil McCann again knows Scottish football inside out. Maybe he could be a buffer between, you know, the players and Van Bronckhorst coming in. So I think they played together with each other at Rangers as well, Van Bronckhorst and Neil McCann, so they'll know each other. So whatever happens, he's got to bring in his own people. You know, when you're a manager, you want to bring in your own staff, and I'm sure that he'll bring in staff, but there might be a role for like Neil McCann, maybe just to kind of help him settle in quickly.
What's his biggest task? Is that the biggest issue he's going to face when he comes in, trying to get up to speed straight away?
Yeah, I think it's winning the respect of the players, because Steven Gerrard obviously had that as soon as he walked in the door. They've been successful. They're sitting top of the league. It doesn't need to change a lot. You know, it's not very often that you get a job as a manager and you come in the team's top of the league. Usually it's when a team's struggling. So, you know, from that point of view, it's good for him as well. So he's just got to come in and freshen things up, but not, you know, veer too much away from the way Rangers have been playing, with the way they train, because it's been successful. It's been proven to be successful. So, no, it'll be interesting to see. He obviously seems to be the number one target for Rangers at the minute. But I'm sure there'll be other managers that the Rangers board will want to speak to. Yeah,
we reckon it's a short list of 3. Ronald Koeman has been mentioned. He might possibly be on it. Even Rino Gattuso, another former player, used to manage Napoli, won the Coppa Italia with them. He could be involved. We don't think, despite being the second favourite, that McInnes is on the shortlist at the moment. Can you see anyone else being linked roughly? Frank Lampard just turned down the Norwich City job as well.
Yeah, I mean, any time a manager's job comes up for grabs, there's a lot of people out of work, and I think I might be wrong in saying that when Hamilton Accies' job came up, there was 50 applicants.
No, that's what we got told.
No,
yeah,
there's 50 applicants now. This is the Rangers' job. This is a massive job. There might be somebody comes out a left field, and obviously Rangers do have to do the diligence and everybody that's out there. So I'm sure they'll be advised on who to interview and who not to interview, but Bronckhorst has got in very quick, you know. I think his agent's been talking to whoever. So, no, he's the leader of the pack, but I'm sure tomorrow and probably the weekend we'll start seeing other names who chip themselves in for this job.
Sharpie says, bring in Van Bronckhorst. A few other people agreeing with him, such as Ronnie Porter. You've got John Cusack saying Barry Ferguson in a coaching position. We better not tell Peter if that happens, he'll be too happy.
He's not going to leave Alloa for Rangers, is he?
Bigger job. Hibs are the next game in the League Cup.
Hopefully I've not got a manager by then.
Yeah, is that what you're hoping? Is it a good time to come in? Because you have this massive game, you've then got the Sparta game in the game midweek in Europe. Is it a good time to come in? Because if you win those 2 games, you're instantly on a high. But if you lose them, you're out of the Cup. You could be out of Europe.
No, I think it is a good time to come in. I think Rangers will obviously be favourites to beat Hibs in the semi-final. You know, the bad thing for Hibs is, unfortunately, they're not going to have a game for 3 weeks before they play that. I'm sure they'll be arranging bounce games this week or next week. So, yeah, I think it's a good time to come in. As I said, Rangers are top of the league. They've got some big games to come in. You know, he comes in, he wins the semi-final and he beats Sparta. Then, listen, the fans are on board straight away. But the flip side of that is if he comes in and they don't beat Hibs and they don't beat Sparta, all of a sudden people are pining for Steven Gerrard again and saying, whoa, he's not the same calibre of manager as Gerrard. So it all depends on those 2 results, but there's 2 massive games to come into.
Yeah, it certainly is. They want to get their manager in as soon as possible. We're expecting developments over the weekend, so stay tuned to all of our social media channels for that. But just going back to Steven Gerrard, the new Villa boss, I've got to apologise to you because it was 4.5 million compensation. That was the new contract. The old contract was 2.5 million. So you were right, you'd done more reading than I.
Yeah, no, I just heard it somewhere, you know. And
you got inside knowledge in the know.
You know, but I think it was all done so quick.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything do so quick. You know, usually you haggle about compensation, and I don't know what figures were bandied about, but obviously Aston Villa said, look, there's 4.5, and they're taking it, you know. And it just, for the Rangers supporters, you know, I'm obviously reading the papers this morning, biggest worry for the Rangers supporters are now, is he going to come back and take on our players? That's all I'm reading in the papers this morning. Is he going to? And then you've got to yourself, what players are you talking about? What players would fit down in the Premiership? I would go Ryan Kent.
Is Kent the first one you would take?
I would say Kent and Patterson.
Kent and Patterson?
I don't think any of the others are good enough to play in the Premiership.
You think none of the other Rangers players?
No.
Not even Glenn Kamara?
No.
I don't think Kent's good enough to play in a club like Aston Villa. I would think Kamara is. Kamara's the only one for me. Listen, I know Patterson's a young boy. I don't think he'd go straight into the team at Villa, but you'd bring him in and maybe, you know, bed him in for 6 months to a year, maybe potentially he's your right back for the future. But for me, it's only Kamara. I don't think that Kent I don't think Golson's good enough for the English Premier League. You know, a lot of people are talking about him being out of contract. Not for me. I think
Aribo?
No, not for me. No,
Not
not
yet.
for me. Not consistent enough.
I agree with that. Kamara. If I could take one, I was going to ask you if you could both take one. You're going Kent, you're going Kamara. I would go Kamara as well because I think that he can cut it. I was really impressed with him at the European Championships.
Perfect player.
Patterson. They do have Matty Cash, who's just about to get his first Poland cap this evening, actually. But he's a good right back. You could bring Patterson in on, to play, but Patterson wants to play. So he's not going to be a future player. But if you are going Kamara, how much do you reckon Rangers could get from him? And then you Ken, how
I'm
much
just
you
saying
getting
it's
for Ken?
amazing we haven't mentioned one guy who Rangers have said is worth 25 million quid.
Morelos.
Yeah. Imagine Steven Gerrard come back and said, I want him, and they go, well, you said he's worth 25, so we're wanting 25. That's...
Well, that's what we were saying yesterday. We were reading conspiracy theories that Gerrard's actually a Rangers agent going to Villa and he was just going to buy all the players for inflated prices. How much are you paying for Kamara? How much are you paying?
I think Rangers will be looking for 8 or 10 million for Kamara. I think that would be a deal if Rangers got offered that. I think they would take that kind of money, £10 million for him.
What about
Sign it
Ken?
for 50 grand.
50 grand, I know.
10 million for him, 10 million for Patterson, and probably 15 million for Kent. It's 35, that's your debt wiped out.
Debt wiped out, but could it be the title chances gone as well? How is this going to affect the rest of the season? What do you think this does to Celtic, even Hearts, and what does it do to Hibs for the League Cup as well?
I think it gives Celtic a massive boost. There's no doubt about that for me. I said it the other day in the show. If Gerrard leaves, depending on who they bring in, I think Celtic go favourites to win the league just because I think Gerrard is a top manager. I think he's got that aura about him. I think he commands respect. He's got the aura. He sets high standards. Michael Beale, by all accounts, everyone I speak to about Michael Beale raves about him, saying his training sessions, the players don't get bored. It's not the same thing all the time. He changes it up. The players enjoy it. They want to come in every day to training. So to lose those guys, I think is a massive blow at this stage of the season for Rangers.
Well, Gerrard has left, so you saying that Celtic are favourites?
Yeah, I think Celtic are now favourites. Because if Giovanni Van Bronckhorst comes in, yes, I think he's a decent manager, but very difficult to hit the ground running straight away and keep winning games. So I think Celtic now will be, the Celtic fans will be happy that Gerrard's left. There's no doubt about that because he stopped 10 in a row, and that was a be-all and end-all. I know people talk about the one trophy in 9. I spoke about that the other day as well. Gerrard won the main one. 10 was the magic number for both clubs. Celtic were trying to win it. Rangers were trying to stop it. Forget the League Cup and the Scottish Cup and Europe, but everything else, that was the main thing. So he stopped it, and I think the Celtic fans grudgingly have the respect for Gerrard, but I think Celtic now will fancy their chances to win the league.
Yeah, I think in time that's all he will be remembered on.
Absolutely.
Getting 55, stopping 10. I don't think he's a statue outside of Ibrox, but where for you two does he rank alongside Smith, McLeish, all the great managers, Souness, Danny? Is it similar to Souness in the way he brought back the winning mentality to Rangers and then's gone down south?
Yeah, well, I think as far as Graham Souness is concerned, he was given a wad to bring the top English players up, the Butchers, the Woods, and I don't think Steven Gerrard's been given the same kind of money. They put them on good wages, which is fair enough. But I think Steven Gerrard, where he's been so good is he's identified players round about the Championship, and hand-picked them. He hasn't been hand-picking, top players who hold down big positions in English Premiership. So in that aspect, he's identified, players, and they've done well. You can't take anything away from Steven Gerrard for where Rangers were and where they are now. It's an absolutely remarkable change in everything. So the Rangers supporters should be happy with what he's done. But behind Walter Smith, Alec McLeish, a wonderful track record. I think Alex might be better than Steven Gerrard's, but he'll be there or thereabouts.
Yeah. I think you look at what Rangers, Ruffy just touched on it there, you look what Rangers were when Gerrard came in. Celtic were giving them a doon every game. They were winning the league, winning trebles.
Progress as well in Europa League.
Progress in Europe. Pedro Caixinha standing at a hedge, embarrassing for Rangers Football Club.
In the bushes, yeah.
Gerrard's come in, he's put pride back in the club. He's put pride. I know Rangers have spent money, they've had to spend money, they had to, but Celtic were miles ahead of them. And people will say Celtic rested on the laurels. You can argue about that all day. But Rangers, they came in, they spent money, but Ruffy's right, he didn't go for top players. He identified players in England, the Rebels and guys like that, and brought them in. So I think it's similar to Wim Jansen at Celtic. If you say to me, Steven Gerrard Rangers, what's the one thing that comes into my mind? Stop 10 in a row. Wim Jansen at Celtic, you forget about how good he was as a player in Holland and all that. For me, Wim Jansen stopped 10 in a row.
Yeah.
So those two guys will forever be in the fabric of their clubs because of them stopping that magic 10. And 10's a big number because both of them have had 9. And 10 is the big number. It might happen in the future, who knows, but in your lifetime, probably not.
I've been waiting a long time for that. Right, we're going to have to leave the Rangers chat behind. Make sure you stay tuned, as I said, over the weekend. We could have a new Rangers manager by Monday, and we'll be looking forward to speaking about all of that come the new week. But it's time for Scotland. Before we start, Tam McManus, is that your own jersey?
Yes, this is my jersey. It's massive. It's an extra large.
What's the story behind it?
I wore this with Scotland under 18s, and we played France away from home, and I played against Philippe Mexes. I remember him. He was a young boy. He was at Auxerre at the time, and he was supposed to be the wonder boy. They beat us 4-2, but I scored the 2 goals for Scotland, and I gave him an absolute runaround. Now he went on to Roma and Milan. I went on to Limerick and Rochester Rhinos, but I'm sure he doesn't think about that game as much as I do. But that was only 2 goals I ever scored for Scotland. This is a treasured jersey for me. And it's also the smallest one that I own because all the rest of them are twice the size.
It's a nice jersey. What about Mick? Was he playing centre half?
Mexes played centre half for France.
And you did him.
I played directly against him. And scored 2 goals and hit the post twice. And I had probably the best game I've ever had. Unfortunately, there was no scouts at the game.
Yeah. What happened after that?
I don't know what happened after that. We'll not talk about that.
Scout for the island there.
Exactly. And he said, "I'll take that boy who was about 33." No, that was that's a match-worn shot.
That's brilliant. It's hopefully a lucky jersey as well. Scotland playing Moldova in Chisinau, 5 o'clock kickoff. The team, we can see it right now. Steve Clarke has gone for the 3-4-2-1 formation. Craig Gordon in goal, the number 1. Jack Hendry moves to right centre half in the place of Scott McTominay, who's out with a throat virus. And no place for Grant Hanley either. He is out. Liam Cooper comes in. He's picked ahead of the likes of John Souttar and Scott McKenna. Kieran Tierney, the left centre half from Arsenal. Nathan Patterson keeps his place at right wing back, keeping Stephen O'Donnell out the team. Billy Gilmore and Cal McGregor in the midfield as ever, with captain Andy Robertson on the left-hand side. Then he goes for 2 behind 1 up top. John McGinn, one of Scotland's best performers in qualifying so far, is partnered by Stuart Armstrong, who's not played much football so far this season, but is trusted by Steve Clarke. And it's time for Shay Adams, the number 10 for Scotland, who gets an odd by himself in the absence of Lyndon Dykes. Tam, you happy with that 11?
Yes, I think that's a strong 11. Listen, we're playing Moldova. In fact, I ain't going to be disrespectful. They're rotten. And if we don't beat them, we don't deserve to be in the World Cup. They're crap.
Yeah.
So we need to go there the night and just start the game well, go and get a couple of early goals and get ourselves in the playoff. Let's just hope the boys are not too nervous. Listen, it's an enormous game. We all know how big it is because I wouldn't fancy to beat Denmark at home. So we've got to win the night, and I think we will 3-0.
3-0?
Yes.
I'm confident. Who's getting the goals?
Confident. I think Shay Adams will get a couple. And I think maybe somebody coming off the bench later on, maybe a Nisbet might nick one.
Oh, Nisbet, I thought you might speak about him. Why is he not starting? What's the deal there?
I don't know. I thought him or the boy, is it Brown that came in for Stoke?
Jacob Brown.
The thing with that team is, and you know what fans are like in social media, whatever. Why are we not playing? I know right now, as soon as that team comes out, how are we not playing 2 up front against Moldova? But that's still quite an attacking team. But Stevie Clarke is leaving his cell open to serious criticism if we don't win the night because he's not played 2 recognised strikers. Yeah,
that would be the one criticism from me. We spoke about it a lot after the last game, that the difference in results between when he plays 2 out-and-out strikers, a Dykes and an Adams, compared to one of them and then an auxiliary forward, whether it's Armstrong, Fraser, Christie, it does change significantly. They are much more successful with 2 up top. So that's the only issue for me. But do you think that they can be creative? We know McGinn's got an eye for a goal and Armstrong's got an eye for a pass. Is it okay for you?
Yeah, he's looked at the past, and McGinn can get up and support. McGinn can get up and score goals. I think he's possibly in that squad, he's probably the second most top goal scorer. Armstrong can get forward, doesn't score that many goals. McGregor will score a couple, but nothing. But he seems to like the 2 wide guys getting forward and firing balls into the box, and that's my only worry. If you've only got Shay Adams in there and you're firing balls into the box, you're better with 2 strikers than 1. But the success, he believes in loading the midfield and getting midfield guys who get forward and support, and I'm sure it should work. I mean, Tam's hit it in the head. This team's ranked 191. I don't know many teams there is that you can get ranked.
The Bahamas and Bahamas and Cape Verde are above Moldova.
Are they?
Yes.
Yeah. You've been doing your research as well.
I think the Virgin Islands, somewhere Ruffy's never been, are also ranked before.
They've scored. Not the Virgin Islands. They've scored 4 goals in 15 games, and 2 of them was against the Faroe Islands.
I know.
So come on, I get these teams are hard to beat. They're not hard to beat for Denmark because Denmark beat them 8-0. You know, and if you say Liechtenstein are hard to beat, Germany beat them 8-0.
9.
So it's up. Is it 9?
No,
so it's up to us. It's up to us to show everybody that we're progressing and we can take these teams. And until we start beating these teams 2 and 3-0 quite easily, then I can think we're going somewhere. But if we're going to be struggling 1-0 in the Faroe Islands, 1-0 at home against Moldova, hopefully it's not that tonight. I think we'll win 2-0 tonight quite comfortably.
Well, it was 1-0 at home, as you said there. Steve Clark says Moldova might be full of surprises.
Anybody that I pick for the squad is a player that I feel can contribute. So anybody who's in the squad can contribute, whether it's from the start or off the bench. So we can do that. Obviously, it's disappointing to lose Linden because he was on a good scoring run for us. But what a great chance for someone else to be the guy that catches the headlines on Friday night. So big chance for someone else.
Yeah, you got no Lyndon Dykes there. Ryan Christie also out. Scott McTominay, Grant Hanley. Who's the biggest miss for you out of those 4 players?
Dykes by a mile.
Why? Because of the goals?
I think he's been a talisman for Scotland. I think he's come in and thankfully we managed to nick him for Australia. I think he's been brilliant for us. I think he leads the line well. He scored goals. He got a vital one in the Faroe Islands, you know, to get us that 1-0 win. I think he's a big miss because he likes to play the 2 up front with Adams and Dykes. I don't know if he trusts totally Nisbet to play up front, and he's no seen enough obviously of Brown to start him. So I think Dykes is a big miss.
Yeah, you think Dykes is the big big one?
If you look at, as I touched a couple of minutes ago, if you're talking about Robertson on one side and Patterson on the other side, getting into 18 and firing balls across the area, Dykes is the one who gets in there. He makes himself available to get that wee half a yard in front of the defenders, and most of these goals have been like that.
Yeah.
You know, he likes getting in, reading. I'm sure in the away practicing, it's something they'll do for about half an hour, just firing balls into the box and making runs. And I always think it's better with 2 strikers because if he misses the first one, you've got the other striker beside him. But that's not the case tonight. So the onus is on now the midfield boys to go up and support him.
Yeah, Dykes has scored in 4 Scotland games in a row, so he won't be adding to that tally tonight. He did score the only goal against Moldova. You remember that game? When was it? Start of September.
What did you make? Over them. I think
1-0 was quite kind, I think, for Moldova.
Yeah,
it should have been more.
We break them down, but we've got to be showing that we can break these teams down. I get that when the manager says, "Oh, these teams are hard to beat," they're hard to beat because they all get behind the ball and it's difficult. They close all the spaces, but we've got to be good enough to open the spaces. We've got to play. We keep talking about McGregor, McGinn, you know, Armstrong. They're all playing in the top league, so let's show that you're playing in a top league and should be able to beat these guys who I don't even know where they played over. I mean, they're all
those teams.
Yeah. No, they're playing in the B in Italy.
They've got a team in the Champions League and we don't. Sheriff.
Well, say no more.
Yeah, there you go. Right, what's key tonight? What are you saying? What is key for the attacking players?
Score early.
Yeah, but that's what we always say.
React.
How do we score early? We got to constantly be on the front foot. Is that what's key?
Yes, I think we've got to attack right for the first whistle. I think we've not going to let them get passes, you know, get them grow into the game at home, you know, put a few passes together, maybe create a couple of corners or chances, right for the throat straight away, you know, get balls in the box, as Ruffy says. You've got 2 guys there, Patterson and Robertson, who are fantastic going forward. I'm sure the message to them will be, listen, get the byline, get the ball in the box. Listen, you know, there's no messing about. And I think if we can get a goal in the first 10 or 15 minutes, it just settles everybody down a wee bit. The nerves, because listen, the boys will be nervous. It's a big game, one of the biggest we've played in a long time. So if we can get that early goal, people maybe just relax and you've been more composed on the ball. The longer it goes at 0-0, the more nervous I think we'll get. So if we can get that early goal, I think we can go and win 2 or 3-0.
No, I'm feeling nervous already, honestly. Only 1-0 back in September. I spoke to John Carver early in the week. He said they're improving, Moldova. They've only got 1 point in the group. They've lost 5 on the bounce. Ruffy's got loads of stats about them as well. But as I said, Steve Clark does think that they could throw a few surprises.
Actually surprised me a little bit at Hampden. I thought they were quite progressive. They wanted to be on the front foot when they had the chance to go forward. They went forward in numbers. Obviously, always with a good defensive block. They defended well against us. Although we did create enough chances to maybe have a more comfortable night than a 1-0. Looking at the squad from outside, it looks as though they've made a number of changes within the squad, although they've still got 7 or 8 players that I would expect to start the game. I'm probably guessing on 3 or 4 positions, which is a little bit unusual in international football.
Yeah, so Clark, not quite sure who he'll be lining up against. We do know what the Scotland team is. I just want to go back to a few players, get your thoughts on that. We've got Cooper starting in the middle. We weren't sure if it was going to be McKenna. He's played plenty of times. And also Souttar's really excelled for Hearts. What does Cooper give that the other two don't?
Well, I think Cooper's obviously got the experience of playing in a better league. He's tried him 2 or 3 times and he's not let the country down. He's a pretty solid guy when he comes in there. And let's be honest, I wouldn't like to think we're going to be under any pressure at all. You know, I think they'll play with one up front and try and support him. But I would like to think the possession that we always talk about for the weekend should be something like Scotland's 70% possession. You know, I can't see them, you know, pinning us back. So for me, it's all about the back three, you know, being good on the ball. Tierney will get forward again, as he usually does. And just being solid. I mean, I think the only hope that they've got is like corners or free kicks.
Mm-hmm. Are you glad that Patterson's got the nod? Because he'll be playing on the front foot perhaps more than O'Donnell would be. Is that why he's been picked?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's picked because he's better going forward. I think if you're playing Denmark, you'd probably maybe play Stephen O'Donnell because he's better defensively. He sniffs out danger. Patterson is young, he's raw, he's hungry. He wants to get forward all the time. And as Ruffy says, we'll have 70-75% of the ball. You know, we'll have a lot of possession, but we've got to do something with it. You know, there's no point in just knocking it across, you know, across the back of them. We've got to try and get in behind them. We've got to try and get into wide areas and get crosses in the box. I'm sure if we do that, listen, Shea Adams is a good striker for us, for our level. You know, he's playing for Southampton. He's a good striker playing at a good level. He'll be fancying his chances to get himself a couple of goals in it.
Right. Okay. Quickly, predictions before we move. 3-0.
Scotland, by the way.
2-0 Scotland.
Better be. 2-0 Scotland, I'm going 2-0 as well. Although we know Ryan Fraser, we know that he pulled out the squad. He was pictured in Newcastle training, though, a few days later. We heard that it was just to test his calf muscle. But this is what Steve Clarke had to say when he spoke to the papers yesterday when he was asked about the Fraser incident. Now, he said, the best way to answer that one is to say that we have a squad of players who want to be here. They're all here, so let's talk about those boys. This is not a time to talk about somebody who's not in the squad. I had to persuade Lyndon it was a bad idea to fly to Moldova. He was prepared to get on the plane for 3 hours to watch the team and then fly back with the side to Edinburgh. It shows you the level of commitment I've got from the boys in the squad. Is that a little bit of a dig?
Yeah, definitely a dig. You know, and I don't think you'll see Ryan Fraser in future squads for the time being. I just think that picture is not good. You know, him training, and you can, you know, if you're training and you're tackling somebody, you're not testing your calf out. You're training. You know, so you know, I've had calf injuries myself. You go and do a wee bit of running yourself, a wee bit of jogging, but he's actually with a bib on, you know, training. So I think that Steve Clarke will be privately raging about that. But it's great to see Lyndon Dykes. You know, the commitment he's got. He must. I've heard that it's a decent night out in Moldova. So
Isn't it?
I was going to say that. That's some trick, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, he was. I was speaking to Clarke yesterday, and he was saying that he was dying to go over and just support the boys. But
brilliant, that's great.
I think he was wasn't too well as well earlier in the week, so he said just stay at home, rest, and we'll need you for the big game against Denmark. But you think Fraser, could his time be up with Scotland with that kind of thing?
Definitely, yeah. I think he'll have had a phone call already. You know, after I think Steve Clarke will mess a bit, he'll want to know exactly what the position was, hear what he's got to say, what his reasoning is, and then he'll come to the conclusion whether he's at it or not at it. And I think we all agree, if you don't want to play for the country, then don't bother coming. Can
you remember other Moldova games? Obviously you got the one back in September. Do you remember the one away from home, one of Bertie Vogt's last matches, 2004? 1-1.
I'm surprised I never got a call up for that squad.
Is it?
I think I was the only Scottish player that ever.
Yeah, no.
2004. Was it the score?
1-1. Stephen Thompson scored, and that stopped us qualifying for the Germany 2006 World Cup. Not again tonight, no? No,
I don't think so. You know, I think confident enough. We're on a wee winning run, although it's not a big winning run. It's a winning run, and I'd be disappointed, really disappointed if we don't win this.
No, I think we will. There's a few players that are on bookings, though, could miss the big Denmark game on Monday. You've got John McGinn, Andy Robertson, Billy Gilmore, Patson, Adams and Hendry. 6 of the 10 outfield players, if they get booked, will miss Monday night. And Monday night could be huge. Now, it's going to get a bit complicated.
That's why you've got to go 2-0, 3-0 up and get them all off the park.
Get them 6 subs?
Not 6, but I mean, the ones that you know aren't going to get into a tackle or do something stupid. So that makes it even more important to get ahead pretty early on, and then 25, 30 minutes to go, just take them off.
Keep sending in your predictions, please. We want to hear from all of you at home at YouTube. That's how you comment. Let them know, and we will read as many as we can out. Now, win will guarantee second place. Second place in the group for the first time in 17 years. We can actually have a look at the group right now. We've got Israel and Austria behind us. So look, a win will take us to 20 points, means that we can't be caught by the third or fourth team. Is that almost being underappreciated, the fact that we are a third seed and that we will come second if we win for the first time since 2004? Does that mean, that's not really being spoken about enough?
No,
that is clear progress.
Yeah, I think it's good, because I think when you looked at the draw, you thought Denmark would probably win it, and Austria are a decent side. They were in the Euros there and acquitted themselves pretty well. So I think if we can finish second in this group, it is progress. And we've actually went and beat a big nation. We beat Austria away from home. That was a big one. To go there and win 1-0. When was the last time we took a scalp like that?
Yeah. France or something.
He put us in the driving seat. So let's hope we don't blow it tonight. I'm sure we won't. But listen, let's get tonight out the road, and then we can maybe look ahead to see who we can get in the playoffs. All
right. Okay. I'm going to start talking about the playoffs. It's quite complicated. You ready for this?
Yep.
Yeah. You're going to mention that Portugal game, aren't you?
Listen, if we finish second, we'll enter the playoff. Okay. But we are most likely going to need a point against Denmark to be seeded.
Right.
Okay. We may even need to win. So currently, out of the second ranking teams, we're 5th out of 10. So you need to be in the top 6 to be seeded. The bottom 4 are joined by the 2 Nations League teams, and they're the seeded against the non-seeded. Now the draw for that is on the 26th of November. So if you're seeded, you're guaranteed to play a non-seed at home in the semi-final.
One-off game.
One-off game. 3 or 4 days later, you'll play another semi-finalist winner in the final. So likely, again, a seeded team. And the draw that will take place on the 26th will also decide who is at home for that one-off game. Let's have a look at some of the teams that are currently in that position. So we are, as I said, 5th out of 10. So current seeded teams would be Serbia, Sweden, Croatia, although we expect that to swap to Russia with the game through the week, Switzerland and Poland. So they would join us as the seeded teams. And then if we were seeded, we would face one of the Czech Republic, who of course beat us, Norway with Erling Haaland, Wales, Austria, Ukraine or North Macedonia in the semi-final. So what are you thinking about that? How important is it to be seeded?
Well, I think it's very important. You spoke about some of the teams that even, to be fair, even some of the non-seeded teams are handy. So I think it's important. As you said, I didn't realise that we had to maybe get something off of Denmark as well. So it's very important to get seeded. You're going to get an easier tie, but I just think overall it's going to be a hard 2 ties to get through, no matter who you get, really.
A home tie is important.
Yeah.
I mean, I get where Tam's coming from. The Russia and all that are top quality sides. If you get them at home, you've got a chance. But you've got to be playing. You've got to be playing way above what we're doing. But a home advantage with our crowd behind us gives us a certain advantage. It's the next one. If we win that, that's even more important. We get a home game, because if you're away to Italy or Spain or
listen, they're not in it yet. I just read them at the moment, but they could be.
Yeah, they could be.
Yeah. If we were to finish second, again, all hypothetical, we'll know it all by Monday night, but if we were to finish second and have the Czech Republic or Wales at home, 2 teams that got out of the Euros group, would you fancy us?
On any given night at home, I would fancy us against these teams.
Okay. All right, we've got a few comments coming in. Thank you very much. Thomas Leishman, 2-0 Scotland. Daniel Mook says Scotland 3-1. Dave McFarlane, 2-0 Scotland. Martin Haley going for 4-1, and then Dave McFarlane saying it's also going to be 1-0 Scotland against Denmark. Very confident there, Dave. What team are you picking to avoid? If you've got Serbia, Sweden, Croatia, Switzerland, Poland, if you were to get to the final, who do you not want to play?
Did you say Portugal there?
No. Serbia, Sweden, Croatia, Switzerland, Poland.
Who do you want to avoid?
I'd go Switzerland.
Croatia.
Do you remember Croatia at hand in that second
Croatia
half?
absolutely battered us at Hamilton.
Modric.
No, Modric's battered us, but no, I wouldn't fancy them again.
No?
I would go for Switzerland.
What about Serbia? 1 year today that we won away to send us to Euro 2020. Would you take Serbia away from home again?
Yeah, we got them at the right time. They got them when they were all over the place. I don't know. I haven't been looking at the results since that night. I don't know whether they've got their act together. I don't know what kind of scores have been running up. But if they're in the same kind of form that we got them over there...
They're in Portugal's group, aren't they?
Yes,
they play each other during the week. That's a big game.
In Lisbon.
Yeah,
so if Serbia win in Lisbon, then it's Portugal that drop in.
Yeah.
And you've got Italy playing Switzerland tonight as well, which we'll get onto a bit later. But if Switzerland win, then it's the Italians, best team in the world, may I add, could be coming second. So we'll have to wait and see for that. Just finally on the Scotland team in general, is this the best Scotland team you've seen in the last 10, 20 years? Where does it rank for you? For me, in my lifetime as a Scotland fan, maybe not necessarily the best in terms of squad depth or actual ability, but as a team, they're definitely the most consistent and the best.
Probably. I think you go back to the Alec McLeish, Walter Smith kind of era.
You go back to the France game.
The France, when we beat France, that was a good team with Barry Ferguson and Darren Fletcher.
Yeah. Scott Brown coming through.
Guys like that. But I think probably since then, what was that kind of mid? That was about 2006, 2007, 8. I think probably since then, this is, well, listen, the proof's in the pudding. We went in the Euros and we've got a chance to get the World Cup, so probably,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that squad were a right team, club, level. They all fought for each other, and they two results particularly. I know we got battered by France, home and away, but we still won the game. And obviously we took Italy right to the end as well. So that squad for me would be the best before this one.
Were you born when that Italy game? 2007.
You're winding me up. Listen, 2006 World Cup final, best day of my life, watching the Azzurri win it. But you should have seen the stick I got. You remember, who was it? Hutton was meant to knock it up the park, booted it into the stands and got given a foul against him, a diver, and Italy scored.
That was it. Free kick. That was it. The game.
Odo scored the header, and me at school on the Monday morning getting absolutely hammered.
Quite rightly so.
Well, it was a foul on Odo.
Wasn't a foul.
No, I still get stick for that to this day. But hoping for none of that. No refereeing decisions tonight. Nice and easy. I've gone 2-0, 3-0. You 2-0. 2-0 as well. Right, okay, we'll read out more comments before we go. We've got to quickly look at other action across Europe. We've got, of course, Denmark. They're playing against the Faroe Islands. They are absolutely... Denmark?
Oh,
bloody hell, don't start about that game again. I thought that could have been it. 0-0 away at the Faroes last time, couldn't it?
Look, they put out a banking reserve team against them the last time and then decided they needed to win the game and threw everybody on. That's how good they are.
Oh, Denmark. They haven't conceded a goal yet.
Yeah, I know.
Won all 8 games. Did we underestimate Denmark at the start of the group?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. Listen, I've seen them in the Euros, and I've seen them previous to that. I think they're certainly the best Scandinavian country by a miles, but I think they're a top side. And, you looked obviously a big blow Ericsson and all that, and I think that kind of shook them up. That shook them up, and then they got going a little bit. But I think the top side, and I think once they get to the World Cup, nobody will want to avoid them, because I think they can get to the group stages and get knockouts. Definitely.
Dark horses again, semi-finalists. Took England all the way to extra time. You've got England playing this evening. They still need 4 points from their last 2 games. They've got Albania at home this evening. Emile Smith-Rowe, could he be given his debut for the Three Lions? Gareth Southgate was speaking a little bit earlier through the week. Very keen on the Arsenal midfield. You've got Harry Kane though. He needs to pick up his form. He says there's no excuses for the dip he suffered since the European Championships and his failed move to Manchester City.
I think it's easy for people to try and look for an excuse when maybe you're not on form or you're not scoring as many as you usually do. And that's where it's important, kind of my own self-belief, my own mentality is just to work harder, and that's always been my approach, whether I'm doing really well or the goals ain't quite coming. It's just to work hard, train hard, work hard for the team.
Can you understand why Kane's struggling? He's talking about there coming from such a home final, getting beaten on penalties, then thinking he's moving to the best team in the country, and that falling through. Now he's got a sacked manager and he scored 1 Premier League goal in November.
I think if he goes outside his pram and he finds a dummy that he's thrown out and he never get a move, then he maybe get his finger out, because he's not kicked a ball since that Man City deal fell through.
No.
He really hasn't. And listen, I'm not a Spurs fan, but the games I watch, doesn't seem to be putting in 100% effort. His goal scoring is went way off the boil. So I think that's affected him badly, not getting that move to Man City. Listen, as it would to any player, you know, it's probably a once in a lifetime move. You know, he's not going to win anything at Spurs. Let's be honest, he's not going to win anything there. You know, he's got a chance to go to Man City and play under the best manager in the world and possibly go and win everything this season. So, no, he's certainly threw the dummy out the pram and he never get his move. And as I said, it'll be interesting to see how we get on England tonight.
Yeah, what do you think of England? We've got Albania, should win.
Yeah, who's the last game?
Oh, it's another team at home. It's not PLZ.
One of these teams that are hard to break down, San Marino or something like that.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
You've been doing a lot of research. So what you get the same amount of points winning 1-0 as you do winning for 8-0?
I know you do, but I just feel England. I think England. I said, although they did particularly well there at Euros, I thought they were maybe a competition away for really going the whole hog. And if you can get back to scoring, they've got a chance.
Yeah, they certainly do in Qatar 2022. Italy, as I said, in action against Switzerland as well. You've got Israel, Austria. We'll keep an eye on that. If in case Scotland don't win, we'll have to start looking at permutations to look at that. Ireland last night, an impressive draw against Portugal. I watched the whole game. Jamie McGrath playing well, St Mirren style midfield. Stephen Kenny starting to turn it at Ireland, isn't he?
Yes, and I did say that at the very start. You know, I worked under Stephen twice at Dunfermline and Derry City, and he's a very enthusiastic character. He's very, very attack-minded, and going from Martin O'Neill and Mick McCarthy to going for Stephen Kenny is like black and white. It's just the total opposite, and it was going to take him time to get his ideas across. He's now starting to find players. You know, the boy Robertson up front has been superb for them. You know, he scored a few goals. Yeah, Cam Robertson, Adam Ida, Ogmeme.
Yeah, he played well last night.
So he's starting to find players for the kind of Championship and League One in England. So I thought they were excellent last night. I thought they're very, very worthy of their point.
Yeah.
I thought Portugal were poor, but Ireland never let them play. And just starting to see signs now. If I was an Republic Island fan, I'd be quite happy the way things are going at the minute.
Yeah, more optimistic for Euro 2024,
definitely.
certainly. Another manager, just before we go, John Hughes has been appointed as the Dunfermline manager. Of course, former Ross County, Caley Thistle, Falkirk, Wraith, Hibs, plenty of clubs for John Hughes. Is this a good appointment for the Pars?
Definitely. You know, it was one I thought immediately. I thought John Hughes. You know,
you did call it, didn't you?
I did. I don't know why I blew my own trumpet, but I did. But he went to Ross County, who were bottom of the league as well, similar position, obviously in the Premiership. Done brilliant with them. Kept him in division. Kept him at the top, bottom two. You know, he goes to Dunfermline. Dunfermline are a big club. I applaud Dunfermline. They're a big club. You know, and they were favourites to win that league this year. One of the favourites anyway. And he's just got to get them going. He's got to keep them up this season. You know, I think pure and simple. But I think once he keeps them up, he's got a real opportunity to go and grow that club. So yeah. I think it's a great appointment.
What do you think about Dunfermline?
I think they're a big club. I love the stadium. I think it's a real stadium. Good atmosphere in it. And if he does get them going, supporters will come back. They're a big club. I think in the Championship they could have maybe 7, 8, 9,000. If they can get up the league, I think they will have. I think they've got a good squad. It's just not been happening for them. And he will go in and he'll shake things up. And I go even further back. I thought he got a raw deal at Hibs. I think he was with Hibs for the first half of the season. They were second top of the league, playing fantastic football. Second turn of the year, results went poor, and they sacked him on the basis of that poor 3 or 4 months instead of looking at the whole picture. And I thought he got a raw deal at Hibs.
Did you? You think you two backing him to stay up?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, four points adrift at the bottom after 13 games.
Yeah, I mean in our league, everybody can beat everybody. Yeah. So if they get on any kind of run, they've got the players to get themselves out of there. Okay, just a few more comments to read out before we go. Amandi, 1-0 to Scotland, and Jamie Wilmshurst saying 3-0 as well, hoping Nisbet to come on and get a hat-trick. You must be a Hibs fan. There you go. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. That's all we've got time for this week. We're going to quickly rush off and try and get home before the Scotland game kicks off in 15 minutes' time. Enjoy the game, and hopefully we'll be speaking come Monday with Scotland in a World Cup playoff place. All they need tonight in Moldova is a victory, and that's what they're going for. Kick-off in about 15 minutes' time. Come on, Scotland. From myself, from Ruffy, from Tam, thank you very much for joining us.
Come on, Scotland!